Thank you very much. So this journey started in 1990 when I first had my daughter, Rennie. It started shortly after, I think a few months, yes. I had a cesarean section, and a few weeks after I had the baby, the doctor, I took her for her own inoculation. I started losing a lot of weight. I'm just going to summarize. I started losing a lot of weight and I also had diabetes, which had the medication. So I took my daughter for an inoculation, and I had the baby in a particular hospital. The husband was my gynecologist, and the woman was my daughter's pediatrician. So I took her to the pediatrician, and she said, there's something wrong with you because you've been losing lots of weight, and you just get on the scan table and let's do a scan. So she did, and the first thing she said was, how soon can you go abroad? I thought, why? She said, because one kidney is out and the other one is on its way. So I said, yes, I've been having those feelings. But one thing that she said was, I want you to take this very seriously. She said, except you want another woman to look after this child, then you had better do something about it. I must confess that the only thing I had was another woman. There was nothing else. I didn't hear any other thing. I didn't know the severity of what it is. All I had was another woman. And I said, no other woman. So I got to my husband that I didn't tell my husband, he said another woman. Because I wanted to just say, this is very serious. So they say it's a very deadly disease. But anyway, we got together, friends helped us, family helped us. And so I went abroad. And when I got to England, by this time, I was very, very thin. I'd lost a lot of weight. And in fact, my hair was very long up to my eyebrow. And they used to call me, my colleagues in the office used to call me, I was in a bank then, they used to call me Esau. And we all thought it was a joke. But at this time, I couldn't walk properly. And if I sit in a car, I first sit down and then carry my legs in the car. I couldn't pull up my hands. I couldn't do this. I couldn't put up my hands to put my hair back. I couldn't carry a cup of tea. My joints were just weak. My muscles were extremely weak. So I went abroad. I got to the doctor the very first day I got to England. And he took all kinds of samples, all kinds of tests that very day. As I was walking out of his office, I said, why are you limping? Because I started limping. He said, I said, no, you shouldn't know why. It's a psychological effect from the baby I had. I had believed that it was because I had a CS. And everybody kept on telling me that, look, you have to get this together. You have a baby to look after. You're not the first person to have a cesarean section. So please just get at it. Just stop being lazy. Because at the time, what I had was not a common disease. Anyway, he wrote something down and I went back the next day. He said, were you in a coma on the plane? I said, no, I wasn't. He said, because you should have been in a coma. I said, why did you say so? He said, because your blood sugar was at the highest level it can ever be. And he said also from one of the tests, one of the muscle tests, he said your muscle test was at 11,020 and the maximum was 110, which means that your muscles are weak. So my muscles had been destroyed. And explained to me that what I had was an autoimmune disease. So I said, what exactly is that? He said, it's a disease that has no cause and no cure. And in my own case, the long spectrum, he said, in my own case, what happens is that the body soldiers, instead of body soldiers to protect the body from viruses and bacteria, my body soldiers were recognizing my good organs as viruses and bacteria. And so they were killing. So my body soldiers were killing my muscles, thinking that they were strangers, they were not supposed to be there. So my muscles were very weak. And I also had diabetes. And so he told me that the medication for diabetes, which is a steroid, the medication for the polymyositis, what I had was polymyositis, which is an autoimmune disease for muscles. A medication, which is steroids, is going to make diabetes worse. So it was catch-22 situation. And I was put in hospital for about a week in England. And the only thing, I don't have a sweet tooth. The only thing that I cannot do without eating, and they told me I had to stop, was dodo. So I prayed to God. I said, Father, for the sake of dodo, please take away this diabetes. And I asked the guy who was treating me for diabetes, I said, have you ever had any patient being cured of diabetes? He said, no, never. And I told him, I said, yeah, I'm looking at one. And he looked at me as if I was an illiterate from Africa. That this guy, she said, it can be maintained, you can maintain it for life. I said, no, I have a God in heaven who's going to cure it. Anyway, so I was in the hospital for about a week. And I had the picture of my daughter by my bedside. And every morning I used to cry out, not caring who was on the ward. And also tell me that I don't have to check the time. that Mrs. Adepton, don't call Mrs. Adepton, that Mr. Adepton wants to begin to pray in the morning, and it's 5 a.m. Anyway, that went on, and after a while, I was getting weak every day. My blood sugar was on medication, but my blood sugar kept dropping. So I came back to Nigeria after this was me when I came back to Nigeria after 6 weeks of treatment in England. And I came back to Nigeria one day, and my doctor was looking after the diabetes said, let's stop this insulin and let's see what happens to you, because I was on daily insulin, and let's see what happens to you. So I stopped the insulin. That was November 11, 1990. And I kept on checking my blood sugar. It was normal. So the Almighty God helped me through that. I was cured of diabetes, and today, till to date, I do not have diabetes, to the glory of God, and I eat to do as often as I wanted. This was me after I came back with my daughter. It was her first birthday in November. This was me well. I was very well here now. Then I was told at the time that I couldn't have a second child, that because of the medication I was on, and that if I tried, it would take a while for me to have one. But then in 1995, I had a son, to the glory of God. But while I was pregnant, I had a flare-up of the autoimmune disease, and I was in hospital. The late Dr. Ameyo Adedewo came that morning and said, Fadike, you have to do a blood transfusion because your blood level is very low, and we have to do a transfusion because of the baby. She said, we'll do the transfusion tomorrow morning. That night, I prayed like I've never prayed before. She came in the morning, they prepared me to take me for the blood transfusion. I said, no, let's just check your blood level before we go in. And she checked. I said, oh, wait a minute. Your HB is quite, it's okay, we don't have to do a blood transfusion. And so they didn't do the blood transfusion. And I had the baby, a son this time around in 1995. Remember I said that what I have is an autoimmune disease, which means that the disease could affect any part of the body at any time. Then I had a cancer scare when I was 40. I went to America. I said, okay, let me now do, everybody said, let's do 40, when you're 40, do cancer mammogram, do pap smear. Anyway, I did all that. But I made sure I left it the day before I left, because I believed in my mind that I would have it. Anyway, I went, and indeed, they told me that they could see some calcifications on my right breast, blah, 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 and that it looked malignant. I'd gone to America with my sister-in-law, Yewande at the time. And when I had that diagnosis, we went to the mall, and I could hardly carry my handbag because I had pains on that side of the body. The next day we went back, and the lady, the oncologist, now said, okay, now let me now look at this in the mirror. She looked at it, and she said, as far as I'm concerned, you don't have cancer. It's not malignant, it's benign. And but I don't want you to sue me. So I advise you a biopsy. That very same day, which was the next day, I carried a 32 kilograms suitcase with that same arm. That is maybe 30. I carried one hand, the same hand I could not use to carry my handbag. That was because fear had gotten me. I was afraid, and fear had paralyzed me. I couldn't even pray, but I thank God for my husband, because he stood in the gap for me and he did all the prayers. Then in 2003, I had a cough. I didn't have a cough. I was breathless. I thought there was something wrong. So I spoke to my doctor. I said, look, I'd like to have an x-ray done. He said, why would you want to have an x-ray when there's something wrong with it? I said, no, there's something, I'm not breathing well. So he's a very close friend, Dr. Ajayi, Olajayi. So he did the test. But he said it would take only 1 hour. But he didn't come back in 1 hour. He came to our house in the evening, and he had tears in his eyes. A very emotional doctor. He had tears in his eyes. So I said, Doc, what's wrong? He said, Fadike, I have tuberculosis. So I said, how can I have tuberculosis? He said, because your immunity is low from the autoimmune disease. So I went back to England, and there are 4 medications that's used to treat tuberculosis. And the doctor was like, be on this 4 medication for 18 months. So we started. After 3 months, I reacted violently to one of the medication after about 1 month. So I went back to England and said, there's something wrong. I said, well, I'm going to take a guess and take off 2. But I tell you, when I take off the 2, you have to be on this medication for 2 years. Now, one thing I do before I see any doctor is that I pray that, Lord, lead me to the right doctor. Lead me and give the doctor the wisdom to prescribe the correct medication. So when he said he took a guess, I said, Lord, I prayed to you about it. So let this guy know what he's doing. So he took off 2 of the medication. I went back in 6 months. I did an X-ray. And as I was going back to his room, he was marching on his bed. I don't know what he was saying. So he went to his room and he showed me his screen. And I was so excited. Can you see? So I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a radiologist. I don't know what you're talking about. He said, it's glaring. After 3 months, it's glaring. So I said, what is glaring? He said, tuberculosis. The scars I can't see it anymore. It's glaring. He said, but come back in 9 months. In 9 months, I went back. He said, I'll have to discharge you from my hospital, from my clinic. So I don't know what's happened here. He said, because I'm supposed to be on this for, you're on 2 of medication out of 4, and for 2 years. He said, it's only 9 months and just cleared. Anyway, after 1 year, he said, please go. I have to discharge you from my hospital. Then I went, I usually do my medicals every year. And so I went to South Africa. I did South Africa. And I just went for a medical checkup. So guys, I went to the mammogram to do breast because I had been advised to have the mammogram every year. So I went for the mammogram, and it was also a bone density center. So the guy was just chatting with me. He said, so what caused this autoimmune disease? I said, I don't know. He said, what are you on? I said, steroid. He said, for how long now? I said, for about maybe 10 years or 15 years. He said, do you check your bones at all? I said, no. I said, what's that? He said, the doctors in the industry have told you to be doing your bone density every year because of steroids. The steroids are poison to the bones. So I said, let's go and do a bone density test. So I went in, I did the test, and as usual, my husband was waiting in the waiting room for the results of the mammogram. He didn't know I had gone in for the bone density. So he said, I said, I'm sorry to inform you, Mr. Depton, but you have your bones as fragile as that of an 80-year-old woman. He said, all you need to do is to have a fall and those bones will break. And he showed me the X-ray. My bones had actually started having a hunch, which is one of the signs of osteoporosis. And my bones were bent. So he said, I'm going to put you on medication for almost the rest of your life. But please come back next year. I went back the following year, and he said, what have you been taking for medication? I said, nothing apart from what you gave me. And I said, I fast and I pray a lot. He said, whatever you are taking. I said, you want me to stop the fasting? He said, no, whatever you are taking, please continue to take it. When I went back to my doctor who had treated me for the polymyositis in England, I did a biopsy of my muscles, and they could not find the polymyositis. My muscles were okay. He told my husband, because when I came to the waiting room, he didn't know who I was, because I had changed, I was now healed. He told my husband, he said, there's some guy up there that your wife talks to. He said, whoever that guy is, always answers her prayers. And that was just it for me. So what they had told me about the osteoporosis is that because I exercise a lot, he said that helped. So I want to tell every woman, and of course the men on this platform right now, if you have not started exercising, please get on it. Because that was what helped me. That strengthened my bones. By the time I went back a year later, he told me that I should lower the medication and I should just keep on doing what I want to do. Then I went again in 2007 for a checkup in South Africa, and they said they had seen a shadow under my lungs. But it was a very tiny shadow. When I went back to England, the doctor in England said, they don't know what they're talking about in South Africa, so I can't see anything. But anyway, let me just use a sledgehammer to kill this ant. Let's go and do a lung function test. So we did a lung function test. And when I saw him, he said, Mr. Depton, it said, you have what we call lung fibrosis, which is scarring of your lungs. He said, this may have been caused by the tuberculosis you had years ago. And I'll tell everybody on this platform that if you go back to 2003, this tuberculosis was in 2003. So that was the story with the lung fibrosis. So I went back to England and with the lung fibrosis. So the lung fibrosis, and he put me on some medication again. So I came back to Nigeria. Then as soon as I got back, that was in 2007, I was on medication, everything was being maintained, everything was going fine. Then I had a flare up again. This is the scripture the Lord gave to me at the time. He said, the Lord your God will drive these nations out ahead of you little by little. And that's where I got the title of the book from. You will not clear them all at once, Otherwise, the wild animals will multiply too quickly for you. But the Lord your God will hand them over to you. He will throw them into complete confusion until they are destroyed. He will put their kings in your power and will raise their names from the face of the earth. No one will be able to stand against you, and you will destroy them all. And that has been the scripture I've held onto. Because that same God that took me from here to here, that's my daughter. This is the same daughter that I had when I came back in 1990. And this is her today. This has to be God. And then a month after that was 2018. Yeah, a month after I had that thing, when I almost died, I can say I went to heaven and I came back. I had a granddaughter. It has to be God that took me from there, here, and then brought us to here. It's God. So I don't understand when anybody can say there's no God. There is a God in heaven, a God that heals. And then took my husband out here. It's a God in heaven. So we can't afford to give up. We can't afford to be weary. When the devil strikes, we strike back with the word. We strike back because of what he has done.
Are you a book lover or enthusiast? Do you need genuine and unique lifestyle products? Or are you looking for a place where you can find contemporary and a wide range of unique gifts for children and adults? LATERNA is your go-to place for genuine and contemporary books and lifestyle products for wholesale and retail customers. We stock business books on management, leadership, financial success, entrepreneurship, personal development, and so much more. We carry children's fiction, non-fiction, educational books, CDs, and DVDs. We also stock Christian books on various themes such as family life and parenting, church life and growth, spirit-filled living, love, sex, and marriage, to mention but a few. LATERNA carries life and style books such as baby and child care, beauty and style, conception and pregnancy, crafts, and hobbies. We also carry adult, children, and teenagers' Bibles, educational toys, framed art, gifts, greeting cards, home and office fragrances, music CDs and DVDs, stationery, teachings, and lots more. Our stores are located at 12B and 13 Okoawo Street, Victoria Island, Lagos. You can also shop online at www.laternabooks.com. LATERNA, your lifestyle hub for book lovers. For inquiries, call 0803-301-4462, 0906 0002046 or 7. Chat with us via WhatsApp on 0803-301-4462. You may also reach us on social media via Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at LATERNA Books and LATERNA Ventures.